Rosaria was taken from her home shortly after birth by bandits who destroyed her remote village. Raised as a tool, Rosaria grew up in a constant struggle for survival. One day, the bandit group met their fate by the hands of the Knights of Favonius. Being the youngest of her bandit crew, Rosaria was spared by Grandmaster Varka, who wanted to give her a chance at a normal life. And so, she became a nun for the Church of Favonius. Although she has a cold exterior and does things ruthlessly, Rosaria cares in her own way, and these two sides of her show in her kit. Rosaria will definitely excel at being a DPS, but she has a supportive side to her. She embodies the mentality of conceal, don't feel, through her backstory and gameplay, and I want to cover that today. My name is Versana, and let's talk about some fun Rosaria builds. Let's quickly go over her kit before we dive into builds. Her elemental skill, Ravaging Confessions, teleports her behind an enemy target and performs a Cryo infused slash at the enemy. The cooldown is 6 seconds, very low, great for using constantly. This skill is further amped by her first Ascension talent, boosting her crit rate by 12% for 5 seconds when hitting an enemy from behind with her elemental skill. It's nothing personal, although it does not teleport her behind large enemies like Ruin Guards, so keep that in mind. Her elemental burst, Rites of Termination, has her slam down a giant lance that pulses cryo damage once every 2 seconds. Don't sleep on this skill, because each proc deals 237% of her attack damage at level 10, meaning a cryo build Rosaria will deal some damage with this skill, so don't count that out. It has an energy cost of 60, meaning it's the middle of the road. You'll get this skill fairly often. Her second Ascension talent transforms his skill into a synergistic piece in any team comp, as it allows any allies within the burst's range to get up to 15% crit rate boost based on 15% of Rosaria's personal crit rate. Meaning that if your Rosaria's crit rate is 100% at the time of casting, the game snapshots your status when you create objects in this game. So when you burst, if at that point in time you have 100% crit rate, you will give everyone else in the burst 15% crit. Her normal attacks consist of 5 strikes that sweep in wide angles, culminating in a ferocious slam. Her normal attacks have very, very high attack ratios, and since she is taller, she has access to the footstool technique without needing animal resonance. I will put a card somewhere on the screen if you want to learn more on how to do a footstool. It's what you're seeing on screen right now. And polearms are also capable of performing a different technique called a dragon strike, but they have a much harder time utilizing it to its full extent due to polearms having a much higher attack speed and lower hit lag. And that caveat of lower hit lag is important here because dragon strike utilizes dash jumping during hit lag to perform the technique. It is much better and easier to use on Claymore users, as Claymore attacks are slower and also have higher hit lag. I will also not cover that technique here. There are many guides on YouTube that explain the process, so I would check those out. Alright, I'm sure you've never seen this coming. For the best Rosaria build, you just give her a Crescent Pike with 2-piece Bloodstained and 2-piece Gladiator alongside a physical damage cup. Okay, that wraps up the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay, I was just joking, alright? Yes, that is technically Rosaria's highest DPS build overall. There are some interesting facts I want to cover with you all right now. So, Rosaria has the potential to be the hardest hitting physical damage dealer in this game, ranking even above Razor and Zhongli. This is to say, if we don't consider individual single burst strikes, but more damage over a period of time as a physical damage dealer. Crescent Pike is an anomaly in terms of damage in this game, and amped by the fact that polearm attack speeds are crazy good compared to every other weapon type in the game. She also has access to other things in the game that kind of all culminate in making her a very, very deadly threat, and I want to cover some of them right now. First of all, her Constellation 1 makes her normal attacks crazy. We'll cover that later, don't worry. Secondly, she's a Cryo, meaning you only need one slot to get Superconduct, unlike somebody like Zhongli, who also utilizes Crescent Pike pretty well, he needs 2 slots for Crescent Pike, so he has to be off the field twice. Rosaria doesn't need to do that, which frees up space from other damage options and cores. Cores being things like, oh, I want to focus on Melt or Vape or something like that. That has nothing to do with Rosaria herself. As a Zhongli main myself, it is kind of annoying sometimes having Superconduct be stolen by the Geo Resonance, and Rosaria does not have that problem. Also, Rosaria's elemental skill is on a 6-second cooldown, so she's constantly generating energy particles, which procs the Crescent Pike passive, meaning she gets consistent Crescent Pike bonuses. And as we mentioned before, her attack ratios are extremely high. At level 10, her first 2 hits alone do 100+% damage. For comparison, Zhongli's first couple of attacks do 60% of his base attack. It's kind of like one of those things where the stars just align for Rosaria, and I'm really excited on seeing the damage numbers that come out of her when people start building her for physical damage. Now, while not as good as the Crescent Pike, there is a contender for this weapon, and that is Dragon Spine Spear. If you don't care about min-maxing too much and you kind of hate the look of Crescent Pike like I do, because fashion is endgame, I would recommend this spear. Not only does it work well with Cryo characters, where you deal at R5, every 10 seconds you're gonna drop an ice shard that deals 350% of your attack damage to enemies in an AoE if they are afflicted with Cryo status. Not only that, but the Dragon Spine Spear actually gives double the amount of physical damage bonus as the Crescent Pike. At max level, it gives 69% compared to the Crescent Pike's 34.5% physical damage boost. So the only thing that makes Crescent Pike better is its passive that scales off of physical damage bonus as well. If that passive does not scale off of physical damage bonus at R5, I would actually have to say this is something worth testing out, that Dragon Spine Spear might outdamage the Crescent Pike. Okay, now that we got that really weird, situational, never heard of build out the way, let's talk about some of Rosaria's other builds that utilize more of her kit. A build that I am personally planning on running on my Rosaria is a Cryo support build centered around 100% crit rate to make full use of her second Ascension talent to give crit rate to other teammates. For any support build on Rosaria, I highly recommend the Cryo damage bonus Cup. For a general team comp, we want to run a 4-piece Noblesse set, as we are aiming to spam her elemental burst. If your team already has a Noblesse support like Bennett or Mona, consider using 2-piece Blizzard Strayer for the Cryo damage bonus alongside 2-piece Noblesse for the elemental burst damage. Some weapons to consider for this build would be the Skyward Spine or the Favonius Lance if you want the energy recharge, but if you're having trouble getting to at least 85% crit, as we can get 15% from other sources like her elemental skill plus first ascension talent or double cryo, whatever it is, I would recommend going with Deathmatch or Jade Winged Spear to boost that crit for your team. Now, if you have a rigid team comp of all Leah characters, Lithic Spear will also be a strong option. At R5, you'll be seeing a bonus of a 21% crit rate boost from the weapon alongside all the other stats that it gives, which is like high amounts of attack. So don't sleep on Lithic Spear if you have it, especially at R5 if you were wailing for that Staff of Homa, okay? I don't know who did that, but somebody did that. Definitely not me. Alright, so for all the builds that I've been talking about so far, I figured I'd save this till here. The substats that you want to focus on, all of the builds, are as follows, and they are in order from greatest importance to least important, but still important. Number 1, her crit rate. Focus on that. Her whole kit revolves around crit rate, and if you can get her to 100% crit rate, then she'll give you an overall boost to your team. So yeah, I think it's definitely a no-brainer here. Crit rate is her biggest focus. Usually I have the second stat as kind of equal importance to crit rate, but of course it's different for Rosaria. The second one being crit damage, very, very close to crit rate, but yeah, you want to make sure you get that 85% crit rate before you focus on crit damage, and then you focus on crit damage for Rosaria, just because of how her kit works. The third stat to focus on is attack percent, then energy recharge, and elemental mastery. Elemental mastery is a big if. It does not really matter if you are playing like a physical damage Rosaria, but there are some builds with her where you want to maybe make Rosaria your elemental reaction character. So yeah, Elemental Mastery is not bad, but in a physical damage build, focus on attack plus. The Hourglass should always be attack percent unless, like I mentioned, you are running some weird melt-centric elemental reaction build with Rosaria. It's definitely a thing. It's probably not the best thing ever, but hey, this game is a PvE game. Don't forget, you're here to have fun. Alright, the last build will be an all-rounder build, which consists of 2-piece Blizzard Strayer and 2-piece Bloodstain. The cup will usually be physical damage cup unless you are running Crescent Pike or Dragon Spine Spear, in which case you want to swap that cup out for a Cryo cup. Why we do this is because this build is more focused on dealing good amounts of damage with both her cryo skills and her physical damage skills. You won't be benchmarking damage numbers anytime soon with this build, but this build aims to give you a balance to deal overall good damage regardless of if you are fighting enemies that are resistant to physical or cryo. So if you're somebody who casually enjoys the game, this might be just a perfect build to go through the whole game with Rosaria. As mentioned earlier, Rosaria, much like Razor, is very easy to comp around for physical damage teams. Partners such as Fischl, Lisa, Beto will work very well with Rosaria. She has a ton of flex as Rosaria can enable Elemental Mastery Zhangling, or Xinyan, or Bennett, or Klee, whoever you want, right? Because she can apply constant cryo. And she fits in pretty well with Bennett and Mona, the standard big damage team comp. Being cryo is honestly great in terms of team comping and flexibility, as you can choose to amp physical damage, abuse meld, or have a ton of CC in the form of freeze. Alright, let's cover her constellations and which ones are the best for her. Her Constellation 1 is one of the most important constellation as a main physical damage dealer. So if you're going physical damage Rosaria, do not skip this constellation. When Rosaria performs a critical strike, her attack speed is increased by 10% and her attack damage on her normal attacks is increased by 10% for 4 seconds. This is not a 10% attack damage increase, it's a 10% damage boost. The wording is very important here because this means this scales off of your whole kit, not just your basic attack, which includes your base attack and your weapon damage. Attack speed boosts are also very rare in this game, so don't sleep on this constellation. It is very important for her. Her Constellation 2 increases her burst duration by 4 seconds. This is an overall boost in damage and it's nice to have on any build of Rosaria. More burst uptime means more crit rate bonus, means more cryo damage proccing, so cannot go wrong with this. It's a nice to have, it's not essential for any build, but it does increase her DPS significantly. Her Constellation 4 lets her become a battery whenever she lands crits with her elemental skill. This is great for her cryo support build as it allows her to battery for that elemental burst more often. Now this breaks my heart as a Zhongli main, as her best support constellation is her Constellation 6, so I probably won't be going for it for some times, but it is the most important constellation for a cryo support build for a specific physical damage dealer such as Zhongli or Razor. Now, of course, if you are running main physical damage dealer Rosaria, this constellation is also very good for you. But if you're running her as a main DPS, I already know you're going for C6. Don't lie to me. I know you are. So, yeah, it's very good. You can stacks on top of Superconduct. Cannot go wrong. Big damages here. Is it necessary? No. But are most things in this game necessary? No, not really. But we like the damages. To summarize, Rosaria is very capable of mass destruction, but also fits very well as a support within team comps. I do enjoy that this reflects her personality and her story, as she uses her lethality to support Mondstadt in her own way. If this video was helpful to you, please give it a like as it helps this channel out a lot. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss out on content from me and we become bestest friends and discuss and talk about nerdy video game stuff. I also like to make more cinematic Genshin content. Check it out if you have time. I'm always looking for feedback on how to make each cinematic Genshin episode better, and I could not have gotten this far without feedback from the viewers. So see you next time, enjoy and have a great day. Peace out.